What if the feelings you've been trying to avoid are actually the key to healing your trauma? So many children and adults are taught to fight their emotions, ignore them, or feel ashamed of them. But what if trusting your feelings instead of fearing them could change everything? In today's episode of Single Parent Success Stories, Richard Tierney shares a powerful approach to healing trauma through emotional awareness, mental models, prayer, and community support. If you ever struggled with anger, anxiety, resentment, or forgiveness, stay until the end because the tools he shares aren't theoretical. They are practical steps you can begin using today for a peace of mind and emotional resilience. Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Give the woman in your life something that truly matters, or better yet, give it to yourself. The gift inside is for every woman who spent decades being everything to everyone else. It's time to remember who you are and rediscover your happiness. This isn't just a book, it's a permission to put yourself first again. Available now, because the best gift you can give is helping someone find themselves. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Richard Tierney, joining us from Thailand, originally from Ireland. And he has created a program for children to heal completely, and that mental disorders, diagnoses, they are not really disorders, they are just caused by post-trauma memory. So welcome, Richard. It's a pleasure to have you.
Irina, thank you very much for having me. I've been looking forward to this chat with you for a long time. We planned this back, I think, nearly 2 months ago. So thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
Yeah. So please share with us, how did you discover this method?
Well, I have to say it was down to becoming a parent myself. Now, I'm not a single parent. I'm married. We have 2 children. But coming from being a grown adult who'd never taken any responsibility in his life to suddenly getting married, and there was times when I think I could have divorced my wife. My wife could have divorced me. I wasn't a healthy person to be around, and I wasn't coming to parenting late in life. So I wasn't really the perfect example of a man becoming a parent and being committed to a relationship. I remember we went for family counseling at one time, and they both said, "You know, you're the problem, Richard." I was shocked. I wanted my wife to be the problem, or, her mother to be the problem. And he said, no, you're the problem. At least your wife is trying to be a parent. It's totally alien for you. And I'm kind of going, like, what? And now we're 17 years married. Now we have 2 kids. But so out of that, I realized I needed to become a better parent. And I had to understand how I could empower my children to be the future, to be like independent growing up. But I wasn't. I was very much controlled by my parents, and children are seen and not heard, and you can't be complaining, all this kind of stuff, and the victim, all the kind of stuff that happens back in those days, 60 years ago, was where I came from. So I wanted to do something different with my children. I want them to know that they could always tell me whatever's going on. I'd never be angry or feel ashamed for what they're doing. Whatever it is, right or wrong, tell me. Don't keep secrets. And then I want them to learn to be independent. That's really what I wanted to do, was learn to teach them what I wasn't, to make them independent. So when they get married, they're more like an equal partner, and not my wife got getting 3 children, 2 children, and me as another child in mind, which happens an awful lot, unfortunately, to women. It's a terrible thing, but some men need to be minded because their mothers mind them and they want the wives to mind them, and the wives think, I didn't want to bring on another child. I wanted an equal partner. So I had to learn a lot of stuff, and that was really and my part was to make our children as independent as possible.
Awesome. All right. So what is the main kind of theme of what you teach? What are the pillars?
What really shook me was I was doing a statistics. I like looking at statistics. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's been so much happening with the medical profession and all this kind of stuff that got me looking at this figure. And would you believe, in this day and age, there are 290 million children between the age of 10 and 19 who've been diagnosed with mental disorders. I was shocked to the core. It's like they're the future of our human race. And if they're being medicated at 10, 11, 12 as that their feelings are mental disorders, there's no hope for our future. human race. If they're the future, our leaders, and they're dependent on the state and afraid of their feelings, we're going to be in a state where the state control everything and the children are capable of growing into mature adults. So that was really frustrated me that this is the situation we're in. And then I listened to Ben Shapiro. I love listening to Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, and God rest him, Charlie Kirk. I thought they always felt like a good message about families. Whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, I think Charlie Kirk always said wonderful stuff about what a family is and how to nurture children and that kind of stuff. And Jordan Peterson same it. But Ben Shapiro has made a comment recently. He was talking about transgenderism, but he said that adults should leave children alone to develop until they're 25. The idea is that when they're first born, for this mental health lark, when they're first born, the first 3 or 4 years living at home with the parents and the grandparents and the kids, they're loved like unconditionally if they're in their healthy home. And they learn that feelings and emotions in a case of there's a safe place. And then they go off to play school. And I remember my parents dropped me to play school and leaving. I'm in tears thinking I'm being abandoned. But that's the first step of the break from the bond of mother. And then I learned that they always pick me up afterwards and I get used to it, whatever. But that's the first kind of break, from 4 to about 7 or 8. And then you go into junior school where you're given homework and there's expectations and rules and regulations from like 7 to 12 or 13. And all your feelings and emotions are changing all the time. But you have to go through the experience of learning that. And then from 13 to 19, you're meeting girls and boys, you're being attractive to somebody, you ask them, they have to say no. You're devastated. Someone asks you out, you say no, they're devastated. You get into fights, you fall out with friends. All a learning curve to becoming a mature adult. You have to learn as a child. And if we deprive children as young as 10 by saying, no, you can't feel anxious, you can't throw a tantrum, you can't feel depressed, that's a mental disorder, we're destroying any hope of children becoming whole people. And I think for parents, especially single parents, they need all the help they can get. So if I could create a program whereby we could teach children that their feelings and emotions were not mental disorders, but they're God-given instincts, that they're safe to have, no matter what the feeling is, they're all safe and healthy. And when we feel a feeling, we respond in one of the 4 responses, which are fight, flight, freeze, or acceptance, then whatever action we take, everything will be okay. But if we get stuck in the feeling and we medicate the feeling, we are self-sabotaging our lives. So I tell most of my clients about the idea of the Vikings. In the days of Vikings, the tribe would split into 4 groups. One group would take up arms to defend the village. One group would take the young children, they'd go off and hide in the hills, in the caves, they'd flight. One group would play dead. The dead, the old, the elderly, the infirm, the sick, they would hide in the haystacks or whatever, and they hide somewhere and try be very still that they wouldn't be seen. And the 4th group would go over to the church and they'd pray for deliverance, that God would deliver them from this peril of the Vikings. Everybody had a specific role. No one thought that the people that hid or ran away were cowards. It was a specific role that each individual had for the preservation of the tribe. And when the Vikings passed by, they'd all come back and they'd realign the tribe and fix up the walls and they'd start again. But it was never an idea that it was a cowardly thing to do, to run away or to hide. In the First World War, unfortunately, it happened where people trusted their instincts, ran away, and they were put up against the wall and shot as a deserter. And they were called out for cowardice. But it's not cowardice, it's your God-given instinct. If you're someone who's meant to run away, you're meant to run away. I was a freezer. I would become very introverted. I would go very quiet. I'd shut down. I'd withdraw. I would isolate. I would hide under the bed and be very, very still. I would disassociate. So if there was trouble going around, especially when my buddy walked into the room and I couldn't get away, I would leave the building mentally and emotionally. And I'd go to my safe place in my mind, which was like swimming with dolphins or climbing trees with squirrels. But I'd go somewhere where I wouldn't be present for the abuse to happen. And then when I felt the abuse is over, I'd come back into my body. Now my body might be aching and pain, but I wouldn't have experienced it mentally and emotionally. It kept me safe. Now when you're looking on, would think, that guy's crazy. He's left his mind. He's cuckoo. But it kept me safe. So if we can teach children that these 4 responses are healthy, and you're to embrace these 4 responses, and then we can teach them all the different ways of embracing these responses, the children will grow up to be strong and healthy and independent, trusting their emotions, how to set healthy boundaries. They'll intuitively know if someone is slightly off. So a child meets their mother's new boyfriend. And nothing against single mothers, they're trying to get a partner, but the child picks up there's something wrong with the person. They trust that feeling. The mother may not be aware of it, but the child picks up there's something wrong with that person. That child says, Mommy, I don't want him in the house. You can have that relationship with him, but please don't let him near me. I don't feel safe around him. And the mother can hear that and relate. But if we don't allow the child to trust their feelings, they're going to be walking into all sorts of situations, bullied at school, all the kind of stuff, being taken advantage of. So we have to teach children in some way to trust their feelings. And that was the plan behind it all.
Very well. You're so right. Yeah, because oftentimes we disregard the feelings. In a way, in the age where we were growing up, children must be seen but not heard. So you would never say anything against. You always had to comply with the order of rules. And you you don't really express yourself how you are feeling. Because you gotta feed the box. Feed the box.
I had one, I have to tell you, my parents were middle class, well-to-do middle class, and their friends were and they were in the retail business. And back then, retail was huge in Ireland. It was really fantastic. They were near the upper class. There was so much people. There was no shopping centres, and people went to the shops and bought, and Christmas was huge. But every Saturday evening, himself and this friend of his, who were retailers, they'd go out with the wives for dinner, and they'd come back to the house, and there was no TV. They'd stand at the mantelpiece, and they'd sing songs together and chat. Lovely old world kind of thing, But I never felt comfortable with this one guy. And when they came back, they'd have a few drinks taken and be very amorous, be very enamorous, whatever the kids. So I would yawn. And yawn's a great way of relieving anxiety. So when he walked into the room, I would yawn. Mum would see me and kind of go, oh, which is very tired. And she'd lead me off to bed to sleep. And that was my escape from this guy. My anxiety told me, I don't feel safe around that guy. Don't the reasons out or explain this. If I yawn, my mammy will take me and put me in bed. And I can go to bed. And I felt safe. And I learned to trust my instincts. And I felt safe. I would yawn. And later on, I'm in my 20s, 25, whatever, I felt uncomfortable. I would start yawning. My family, siblings would pick up and kind of go, what's wrong? And I go, your man. Okay, you can go home. We'll say you had an appointment or something. But they picked up on it and they allowed me to escape from me. Now, that guy might have been harmless, but I picked up something that for me was not right.
You're so right. How does an individual deal with forgiving their past?
Well, I'm going to stay on this topic first before I go to the forgiving, because that's going to come up as well. So the idea is that what I do when I work with clients, and I've been sharing this with parents, schools, and also with the idea of maybe treatment centres could create a program where children can go for all of the summer, or they could go for a whole year, and they can do homeschooling in the centre. So they're away from their old environment for a year. And then while they're there, they're taught how to respond with feelings and how to respond with the responses. And then there's loads of skills. So if a child's 18 or 19 and they're in a terrible state at home, they go somewhere for a year, they become a whole new creation. When they go back to the real world, they're able to leave home and go out, and they've been taught home skills about cooking and washing and ironing and driving license and some languages and some IT skills and some other skills, so that they can actually move into the workplace as independent people. So the idea is we pick the 6 most common feelings, which are anxiety, depression, anger, fear, grief, and loneliness. And then we ask the children, we want you to get the parents and the children around the table and say, okay, when you're anxious, which of these 4 responses resonate with you? Fight, flight, freeze, or acceptance? And then we say, well, let's say flight. Okay, let's all run out of the room and run up to my bedroom. We'll hide under the bed together for 10 minutes. And then we'll come back down again and say what that felt like. And the children, with the parents or with the mother, go up and hide under the bed for 10 minutes. Now the kids are thinking, Mammy's hiding under the bed as well. This is really cool. Like this, it's funny, but it's also a message saying it's okay to hide under the bed. They come back down and they say, okay, let's make a big list of everywhere we could hide. And then they dig into a game of saying, in the bedroom, in the bathroom, in the closet, in the wardrobe, under the bed, in the car, in the garden, up a tree, in a bush, in my granny's house. They start making a big list of all the places they could hide. And as they do this, they suddenly realize, next time I feel afraid and want to hide, I have 40 places to go to. And then you can, okay, the next one is say depression. When you feel really depressed, what do you feel like doing? And they kind of go, I want to just shut down. Okay, freeze. Okay, let's try practice freeze. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're not going to leave the room. We're going to leave our eyes open, but I want you to go to a place of imagination in your mind. Like for me, when I was a child, it was a cowboy. I was like with John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, and we're riding horses and shooting all the baddies and saving the town. Now, for you, it might be Star Wars or it might be swimming with dolphins. Pick somewhere for you that feels safe and go there in your mind. Just leave the room and go there and have some fantasy idea in your head where you're doing this wonderful thing and having great fun. And in your dreams, no one can come in unless you tell them. So if you invite them in, it becomes a nightmare. But if you go in on your own and you enjoy it, no one can come near you. So go in there for 10 minutes, have a great dream. And if you want to share about it afterwards, come back in and we'll talk about what it felt like just to go there. You don't have to give any information. And you get the kids to do this, and then they see their parents, they've kind of left the room, and the parents kind of share their story about what they did. The kids don't have to in case they're nervous, but the parents do it. And then the children kind of realize, I can do this. I can go off and fantasize. I'm great at dreaming. I love daydreaming. People used to think daydreaming was a bad thing, but I love daydreaming. And they learn this and then they go, the next one's fear. Okay, well, fear, I don't understand fight, Daddy. Can you explain to me? Okay, so I'm not talking about fighting somebody, but you can ask somebody for help. That's fighting. You can seek a solution. That's fighting. You can report the person by email or by letter. You can tell your teacher. That's fighting. You can tell your parents. You can tell the social workers. You can tell the policeman. There's many ways to fight without actually having a fight, so you can ask for help. So you can tell me what's happening in school and I won't have any problem with you and we'll try and work it out. And then the kids say, I'm being bullied in school. And suddenly you're kind of going, God, they wouldn't have told me if I hadn't had this game going. And suddenly you're like, okay, we're going to speak to your teacher tomorrow. How do you want to handle it? And you get them involved. Do you want us to challenge the child? Do you want to leave school and go to a different school? Do you want homeschooling? What do you want to do? And you let the child be a part of the solution. And now they know when they take an action and they choose to fight, they get to be a part of the solution and it happens. And you create something, and this kind of stuff. And we do this, they learn to trust their feelings. And the last one is acceptance. Now, when I was growing up, Irina, we had God in the home and God in school. And there's lots of classes about God. So you had to understand that God created the world in 7 days. So he can deal with my rubbish in a split second. It doesn't need 7 days. If it created the whole universe in 7 days, he can deal with my pain and troubles in a moment. And there's different prayers you can use. There's a prayer you can use to quieten the voice in your mind. It's very simple. But once you learn it, you can have peace of mind for 10 minutes. There's a prayer you can use to get 8 hours of peaceful sleep at nighttime. Very simple. Just learn it. And then there's a prayer you can do that we talk about manifestation and the law of attraction. And basically it's prayer in action. What you do is you picture something in the future as having happened already. So let's say you're a child and you've been picked to do public speaking and you're scared of public speaking. You think you're going to pee your pants and you're going to show up and you don't want to do it. Well, in the moment you actually have a dream where you've actually been on the stage, you presented, and you came off with a standing ovation. So you dream a dream, and you say, okay, God, this is what I want to happen. It's happened already. I went up on the stage in front of my classmates and my teacher, and I basically said, I'm scared of public speaking, but I want to tell you that I like this subject because of A, B, C, D. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Step off. And everyone applauded. And I got through it. No problem. And the children have this imagination. They see all their friends around them. They feel the podium in their hands. They feel the dribble on their leg, the pee in their pants, whatever it is. But you get into having the experience of happened already. And you have that dream every single day until the event happens. And what happens is when the event happens, God will say, well, we just done this already. So let's just make it happen. And you go up, you stand on the stage and you find you're not as scared. You're holding the podium. You introduce yourself. You say, I'm nervous being up here. I don't want to be up here. My teacher forced me. I don't like my teacher anymore. You share your 3 points and you say, thank you very much. And you step off and you get an ovation. You're kind of going, that worked. So if we can teach children that prayer works and simple prayers, very simple prayers, how to quieten the voices for 5 minutes, how to get 8 hours sleep at night, if we can teach them these simple prayers, they don't have to join any church. And that's one thing I really want to say. And I tell all my parents, Jesus wasn't a member of any church. You don't have to join any church, any denomination or any religion, man-made religion. There are something like 45,000 different churches and denominations in the world today. It just shows you how messed up everybody is. No one knows the right path. So you can have a path where there's no church in your life. Like myself, I was raised like Roman Catholic. Today I'm no denomination. I don't attend church. I'm not a member of any congregation. I don't want to be a member of any congregation. I just have a personal conversation with God all day long. I talk to him in the morning. Okay. I'm going on to Irina's podcast today. I have a tendency to speak too long and too fast. Please help me to slow it down and be quiet and give a message that the parents can use and the children can use, and I can be in some way intuitive and knowledgeable. And I'm going to stop now and let you have a word in there.
Thank you. I like how you created a kind of the emotions and then actionable steps people can take. And I think when we teach kids when they are young, it's so much easier for them to implement as they get older with life. So very, very good points. And yeah, I like how you call it, the last piece you mentioned about the prayer. It's kind of visualization. As adults, we can kind of practice what how you call it, what we want to take place and have it like a preparation a sort of way. I know in real life we prepare, let's say we need to do a presentation, we got to memorize the details, but we also have to, or it would be beneficial if we imagine the experience that we want to have, not just the content we want to deliver, but how do we want to experience that particular event in, how you call it, emotions and fear, I think, could be treated in 2 ways. Fear could be We could be afraid, but we also could be excited. That's kind of same emotions in the body. We can feel butterflies in our stomach, and we feel a little trembled, and we can tell ourselves this excitement, not fear. But what, like, the point that you're making is preparation, and it's amazing doing those little prayers and teaching kids that they can do so as well, and learning from imagination. I think when we are kids, it's so much easier to be imaginative because we live in this world where everything is possible, and as adults, this imagination idea tapers off little by little. It gets weared off. But if we practice it, like you say, when we are in a younger years, and we keep that practice alive as we get older, it's so much easier to keep imagination alive. And I think Einstein said that imagination is more powerful than knowledge. Knowledge is something that you just learn and you know, but we can always create something more amazing if we tune into imagination, because in imagination anything is possible, whereas knowledge is very fixed. So how do we get out of there? So I love the points that you make, and it's great that giving these tools to kids when they're young, it gives them a better life experience as they get older, because these things are not really taught in schools. They're not really taught. And as adults, as parents, if we didn't grow up in a certain type of family, if we don't have that knowledge, again, we cannot pass it down. So awesome that you were able to make it happen and, sharing with others.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. I've made this book as simple as possible. It's written for children, but it's also suitable for adults because, as you said, many adults never experience, or even they're in the place where they don't trust their feelings. Kids who are 25 and 30, I mean, they're adults now, but they are locked into these anxiety disorders and stress disorders and depression disorders, and they're afraid to feel anything. So there's three things I'd like to share with you about this, and then I'm going to go on to the forgiveness. I think it's very important to touch on the forgiveness, but there's three things I share with you. One is, if you're caught in the state of fight and flight, some people say, I'm caught between fight and flight. That's a good thing. That means that you're in freeze or acceptance. So don't think being caught in fight or flight is a bad thing. What it's telling you is fight and flight aren't your responses. Your responses are freeze and acceptance. It's okay to freeze, and it's okay to ask God to help. It's okay for you. For somebody else, they wouldn't go near freeze or acceptance, and they go to fight or flight. But when you get that place where something happens and you feel like you're in a state of fight or flight and you can't do either, you're not meant to do either. You're meant to do disassociate, fantasy, whatever it is. That's one. Number two, nightmares and dreams. Dreams become nightmares if we invite our baddies into it. So if we think about our baddies, we have nightmares. If we think about something that's happy and joyous and free, we won't have a nightmare. We're doing this to ourselves. I remember, God forgive me, when I was younger, we went to see the Jaws movie back in 1970 something. I don't know, I must be about 15. Scared the living pants out of me. And every time going to bed, I would dream of Jaws, and I'd have nightmares. And every time I went to the swimming pool, I dreamed that Jaws was in the pool beside me, and I wouldn't go into the deep end. I mean, it was the most chaotic thing, but Irish kids wouldn't go swimming because Jaws was in the water, or in the bathtub, or in the shower. Like, it was just insane, But we didn't know any better. The special effects were so good, we believed that Jaws was in the bathtub or in the toilet. Afraid to sit in the toilet. Funny, the parents were saying, Jaws isn't in the toilet. We're in Ireland. There's no sharks in Ireland, this kind of stuff. But, the crazy fears are as bad as real fears. If we don't have real fears, we can imagine them. And the movies have gone so scary now, you can pick up really. So understand, if you have a nightmare, you created the nightmare. And if you choose the dream, you can create the dream. It is a decision you can make. That's one thing for children I try and help them to explain. And number two is, this is a big one, big for children to understand, but it would help single mothers, I think, to understand, or parents to understand. The family we grew up in may not be our tribe. So you might find that you don't fit in with your family. And no matter what you try and do to fit in, you just don't fit in. You're like a square peg in a round hole. Now, it might be the fact that you're a nerd or geek or an introvert, and they're very outgoing social animals. Or they're all married, and you're a single parent, and you just don't fit in, and they frown upon you, whatever. And no matter what you try to do to fit in, you just don't fit in. Don't lose hope. There is a tribe out there for you. And when you find your tribe, you will feel so comfortable. You will fit right in, and you won't have to even try. There'll be no wearing masks or people pleasing or trying to fit other people's needs. You'll just meet these people one day, and you will feel like, whoomp, you're home. And it's not your family of origin, but you've got your family now, and they're strangers, but they're more family than your family of origin. So for single mums, but also for children, school, and your schoolmates are bullies and teas. So when you leave school, you're going to meet people who are drawn to you, who want to be around you because they like you. You don't have to put on any airs or graces. So especially kids of 16, 17, 18, if they can be helped know by their parents that your classmates might be a pack of idiots, but once you get out of school and you go to college or you go and get a job, you're going to find your own tribe. Don't give up till the miracle happens, because when you meet your own tribe, you're going to have the most beautiful life. And that's really what I'd like to say to parents and children. Some parents are left abandoned. The parents give up on them because they're not married or they're single or whatever, and they're left to do everything on their own. And they're trying to people please the parents who can never be people pleased because they just judge them incorrectly. And it's time to let go and just find a new family. So my family of origin I haven't seen in 12 years now. I'm married. I've got two children. When I do see them, we're good for about an hour together. After that, I realize why I'm in Thailand and they're in Ireland. Nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly good people. We're just not a fit. I'm a square peg in that round hole. And they're all round pegs and round holes. They are absolutely a joy to be around. And everyone thinks they're the most wonderful family. But when I step into that space, I just don't fit. There's nothing wrong with them. They're healthy middle-class families. Both my brothers are now grandparents. They've got healthy families. But our brain set is just different. I just don't connect with my siblings. My parents are both dead now, but even when they were alive, there was that kind of thing where I just didn't fit in. And I don't want to think I'm broken. It's just that they're not my tribe. And once I learned that, and then I met my wife, and I wasn't great, but I improved, and I've got my friends, and I haven't seen my family of origin. I write them. I love writing letters because we're not in the same room, so I can write a letter 4 or 5 pages long, but I couldn't speak for that long with my family. But I write a letter to them, give them all my news, and then I won't hear from them for 2 months back. It takes a month to get to Ireland and a month back, and that's really kind of a cool way of having a conversation. But it feels like you put the effort in by putting pen to paper. So that kind of thing can help an awful lot, and that's something I do an awful lot. And if it helps your single parents to write letters to say thank you to your mum and sent it, and it takes 2 weeks to get there, you think it's going to take 2 weeks to get back. Isn't that a fantastic? I won't hear from her for a month, but she'll see the letter and she'll think I'm fantastic and that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff about that. So we have to keep this as simple as possible. We only have one life, and when we're dead and it's all over with. And our life is in the present moment, here and now. My life isn't with my family of origin. It's not with my schoolmates from my school days, which are all good people again. My life is here in Thailand with my wife and my 2 teenage adult children. And one's gone off to national service, and my grandmother's in the bed crying because my son is gone and her grandson is gone for 10 days. And she misses him so much. And she's crying downstairs in his bedroom, hugging his pillow. And it's lovely. Like, it's just pure love. It's like, it's not, I didn't see it in my home, but it's like I didn't, because I didn't feel like it fitted in. But he's getting it in this home, and it feels wonderful that he's getting it. And my daughter's not feeling well, so she took a day off college, and she's watching all the Twilight series. She's sitting down watching 5 Twilight movies, eating popcorn, saying, I'm not feeling well. I'm kind of going, yeah, but okay, take a day off, It's not hurting me, and, whatever. And this guy, she's been neglected because Kevin's getting all the attention. He's head off to his national service, so she wants to be attention. So they're down below pampering and whatever, and she's in her space. But again, so understand, find your tribe, and you're fine. That's really what I want to say about that. Just before we finish, the book is called How to Live Stress and Anxiety Free 24 Hours a Day, and it's on basically every platform in a Kindle or book format, whatever. So that's that. As to forgiveness, there's a lovely thing in the Bible, and I was raised a Roman Catholic, and I really find it very strange because I remember being told when I was growing up, because I was baptized with water at birth, my place in heaven is assured. So I can stop going to Mass. I can stop being very Christian-y. And when I die, I'm going to heaven without shadow, because that's my get-in card. I was baptized as a Catholic, so I'm getting into heaven. And then I learned that doesn't work that way. You have to believe in Jesus and accept him as your Lord and Savior, and then try to be Christ every day to get in. So it's more like being a Protestant or an Anglican. Now, for an Irish person to change sides to the Protestant, my aunts would be turning over in the grave, my parents, to know if I crossed over to the other side, kind of thing. But they teach a wonderful thing from Revelations, and it's good for everyone to read the Bible, the New Testament, just to understand this. So what it says is, if I seek vengeance or justice against people who have harmed me in the present, and I seek vengeance, or in the past, and I seek vengeance and justice in my lifetime, when they die, they'll go to heaven, because I sought vengeance and justice on this earth. They get a free pass, and even though they abused me as a child, they get to go to heaven. But if I give my anger and wrath to God, and I forgive them for what they did to me, God promises that they will burn the fires of hell for all eternity, and 7 generations of their descendants. And I'm kind of going, that's equal to my pain. Okay, I'm going to pray for these fuckers. I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to wish them have a happy life on this earth. so that when they die, they're going straight to hell, and all their ancestors or all their descendants are going with them. And that's how angry I felt over my past. I wanted to have peace of mind. I didn't want them to be able to press the buttons. You'd see the person or you hear the voice and you'd get all worked up. I wanted that gone. I was allowing people to have free rental space in my head, that they could press my buttons just by the mention of their name, or you'd see a picture of them, or you hear some news about Irina or whatever, and I kind of get really uptight because someone mentioned Irina or I heard her or whatever. So I had to find, if I pray for Irina all the time for what she's done to me, and I wish her happiness and joy and whatever, suddenly the rent-free space, you leave my mind and you're no longer in my thoughts. And when I meet you, I'm not bothered by you because I've given you to God. So the only way really to do this is to, now, again, you don't have to join any church denomination or man religion. That for me was the clincher. I can just say, okay, God, I'm giving you X, Y, and Z. For what they did to me, I'm forgiving them completely. I wish them to have a most wonderful, beautiful life. I pray that they have a wonderful life. The life that I want for myself, I pray they get that life too. I'm going to do it every single day until I feel it in my heart. And then morning and evening, I pray for the other person. And then one day, they have no power over me. It's gone. And in that moment, I know that their fate is secured and I can have peace of mind.
Totally. Forgiveness in the end of the day is for us. It's not to tell anybody else, but it's so that we can have a peace of mind. I recommend to people to practice forgiveness daily, not to bring the baggage of yesterday into today, because every day is a present, it's a gift, and we should treat it as such. It makes it easier to live life when you're not carrying baggage. Fight or flight response is amazing, but in our age, we carried it for so long. When something happened, some kind of injustice occurred, we are not like a gazelle who ran from a saber-toothed tiger. That fight or flight happened within 20 seconds, and a minute later she's off grazing like nothing happened, carries on with her life. What happens in the modern day, we have a negative experience, a negative event, and then we carry it for so long as it becomes our prized possession. And
it's where we carry it. It's where we carry it. I like to think we have a hole in our soul, and it's eating away at us. And unless we give it away or get rid of it, like you said, just give it away, it's going to eat away at us. And they say that if you have these thoughts, they're going to give you cancer and they're going to give you ulcers, because they're eating away at you. They're physically, realistically, they're eating away at your soul. And you end up getting these ulcers and cancers and back pains, and you're doubled over. And you see people who are walking around, they're like this, and they're like, they're so shriveled in because they're feeling so much anger and wrath. And if they could let it go, suddenly they'd be like, this really sense of release. And it's true. We have to stop carrying this stuff. We have to let it go. So the idea is that, and one thing I'll say is, in the Bible, Jesus never forgave anyone to their face, because they knew if he told the Pharisees, I forgive you what you're doing, they would have laughed him, they would have scoffed him, they would have ridiculed him. So he waited till on the altar, on the cross, and he said, God, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. So don't forgive them to their face. That would be crazy. I mean, I would never go to my abuser and say, I forgive you for abusing me. That would be the most insane, stupid thing. It just would be crazy. But I say to God, okay, God, I forgive that person for what they did. And I don't know if that person's still alive or dead or whatever. I don't know where they are. It's back in Ireland. But I say, I forgive that person. I don't even remember their name. I forgive them completely, unconditionally, and freely. And I want them to have a happy life today. And I did that 3 or 4 times a day, every day for about a year and a half. And suddenly one day, someone mentioned the past. It had no effect on me. It was amazing. I had nightmares and flashbacks for like 30 years, and suddenly then I had no nightmares, no flashbacks. It's an inside job. It always has been.
You did your work. Awesome. What kind of advice or you can recommend for single parents?
There's 4 things I've got to say. Well, one that I just said already. Find your tribe. You're not alone. Your family might be the most dysfunctional family causing you a terrible problem. Your partner might be a narcissist and having a relationship with him is horrible, but he's the parent of your child. Don't give up. There's loads of 12-step support groups. People don't realize how powerful these 12-step support groups is. There's CODA. There's a big problem with narcissists. They're very manipulative and they try to control you and whatever. If you go to CODA, no one's going to try and fix and save you. But many people in CODA have come from narcissistic abusive relationships. They understand the behaviors and they've created healthy boundaries, and they will share with you what they've learned. They won't try and fix you, they won't try and save you, but they'll say, okay, Irina, this is what I did, and then you copy what they did and you're as strong as they are. And then you get another person who's done something else and you learn from them. So in recovery, you can have 12 different sponsors. You can take the first sponsor, the sponsor is your mentor, to take you to those 12 steps and you learn what they did. Then you find somebody else who says something that really resonates. You got to be my sponsor and get them to take you to the 12 steps. And you learn all these different ways, like with children about their emotions, how to respond. You learn different ways to set boundaries with your partner or your ex-partner and with your family. And in this, you'll also find members of your tribe. You meet others who are like you, who come from your space, who never fit in, and suddenly you're going for coffee with these people, and you're suddenly realizing, I found my tribe. I've come to a 12-step group. There wasn't my plan. I listened to Irina and Richard one night, and suddenly I'm in this 12-step group. And then there's other 12 steps. ACOA is if you come from a dysfunctional home. Who doesn't come from a dysfunctional home? Like, you're going to meet your siblings in there. ACOA is another 12-step group that deals with people who come from dysfunctional homes, how to set boundaries. Groups are about setting boundaries. And you go to ACOA and you're kind of going, there's my cousin, or there's my, God, this is crazy. The neighbor from down the road. You'll meet people. Now, the great thing is this Zoom is huge. There's loads of meetings all around the world. You can go to a meeting. I'm in Thailand. My favorite meeting is in Ireland. I go to a meeting on Zoom in Ireland. Love to hear all the Irish accents, but I'm 7,000 miles away from it. So I get to go to a meeting and be a part of a meeting, but I have the space if it needs to be the space. And then there's Al-Anon, and that's for if your partner was dysfunctional, like a narcissist or an alcoholic or a drug addict or something, and you had a personal relationship with that person, they were dysfunctional. That group's for you. So the ACOA may be from your childhood, the Al-Anon's for if you're with that person, and then the CODA is for codependency, whether you became codependent because they were controlling you so much or they were manipulating you. So there's 3 groups there that will help you to stand on your own 2 feet. And it's really powerful when you stand on your own 2 feet. Then you get to not let people in who you know are going to get in, be on good terms to get in. And once they get big in, they go back to old behaviors. You can simply say, like, talk to the hand. Like, where's the hand? There. Talk to the hand, kind of stuff. That kind of thing. So find your tribe and look at these 12-step rooms. It'll help you to get there. Number 2, understand that you're not a victim. And it wasn't your fault. So again, if you married a narcissist or you fell for a narcissist, he is a narcissist. His plan was to take somebody hostage. It could have been anybody. The fact that it was you, it wasn't that you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or that you stupidly said yes, or you fell under his spell is all your own fault. He planned this. Narcissists are brilliant at making plans, and they intruded your space. So understand, you're not a victim. It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. You are a healthy, whole human being. He's the dysfunctional one, never you. Don't ever allow him to say you're the problem, or it's your fault, or you did this. Don't let him play that game. And again, in these trusted programs, they'll teach you that boundary about it was never your fault. So you're not a victim. Again, if my boss decides to fire me today, he's not firing me because he doesn't like me. He employed me in the first place, so he must have thought I could do a job. But the fact that I can't do the job he wants me to do, and need someone to do that job, he's firing me to find somebody to do the job, not to fire me because he doesn't like me. He wanted it to work with me. But because I can't fulfill his needs, he's going to let me go to get somebody else. So it's not about me, it's about him fulfilling his needs. And if we can look at that in every walk of life, your teachers, your neighbors doing something, they're doing what they're doing for their own benefit. And the fact that you're getting affected by it isn't about you. If you can learn that, that'll be really huge. The third one is to understand that you're never truly alone. There's always a higher power. Whether it's these podcasts like Irina has today, and you hear people share that gives you tremendous hope, or it's on YouTube or Spotify and you listen to these podcasts or these videos or these speakers, whether they're spiritual speakers or evangelists or self-help guys, you go to the library and get books. Always someone or something you can tap into. Social services, the police force. There's always someone or somebody, or family if they can be, whatever. There's always someone you can tap into. The other thing, I have 2 stories I'll tell you. One is when my son was born 17 years ago, I had to go back to Ireland for business, and I had to leave my wife with my new son in Thailand. And I was really very upset because it was like a day after he was born, I had to go for business and I couldn't get out of it. So I'm flying back and I'm going through Singapore, and I get to Singapore and my head's all over the place. Like I'm this crazy, like angry, frustrated, like, why is this happening now? And my son's just born, I have to leave. And, so I'm at the airport and my head's going crazy, and I realize, there's a guy there reading his paper. The poor fella didn't expect anything. I think he's probably Japanese or Korean. I didn't know. I don't want to be racist and saying that he's Asian. So I'm saying Japanese. I think he's Japanese, but I could be wrong. But I go over and I say to him, excuse me, I need to talk. Will you listen for 5 minutes? And he put down his paper, looked at me, and I spewed. I vented everything I had to say at this poor stranger. He probably would only say yes or no. They could say yes, let me spew at him. And then when I went quiet, he went, my plane. I went away. And I felt such relief that I had dumped this. And the fact that he didn't understand anything, he didn't respond, he didn't try to fix me. The relief in giving to another person was huge. And now today in my life, my wife has a small chihuahua. And I bring him for walks, and he's tiny. So I bring him for like a 100-yard walk. There's all this peas and poos in 100 jars. I bring him back. But in the 100 jars, I give him all my crap. In my home, there's my wife, my 21-year-old daughter, and my mother-in-law, 3 women in the house. And no offense against women, but it sometimes it feels like I'm being ganged up on, or like, it's like I'm out of my depth, so I give the dog it. Now the dog's ignoring me, he's doing his pees and poos, but I'm spewing whatever's in my head, I'm giving to the dog. And 100 yards later, we come back in from the walk, and I feel sane again. The dog doesn't know what I said to him, but he's taken it. So you never always understand that you're not alone. That's the one thing I'd understand. Even though you're a single parent, you're never alone. There's loads of other single parents, and there's your children who love you. And then there's people you'll find in groups online that'll help you. And the final one is find some way for you to understand that you can have God in your life. You don't have to join. And I really mean that. If you never go to church in your lifetime, if you never join a denomination in your lifetime, you don't have to be a member of a man-made organization to have God in your life. God says in the Bible, I want you to go into your bedroom, lock the door, close the curtains, turn off the lights, climb into the wardrobe, and in secret, have a chat with me. Have a conversation with me. Tell me what's going on and give me your crap. I'll take it off you and you can have 8 hours of peaceful sleep. And then in the morning, I'll give you a new 16-hour day cross to go for the next 16 hours. So you can have a relationship with God. Don't tell anyone you're having it, in case they're all atheists and agnostics and they think you're crazy. Tell nobody, but just try the idea of letting God into your life and just see the miracles happen. Because that's what happens. If you say to God, okay, God, and if you have a problem with the word God, know God's name is I am. This is really important. The Lord's Prayer says that whatever we attach to God's name, we manifest into our lives. Every spiritual tradition tells us this, every book about self-help. So if I say I am depressed, I am bipolar, that's what I'm asking for from God. They're my prayers. So I have to say, I am happy, joyous, and free. Even though I feel crap and I'm crying, I say, I am happy, joyous, and free. I'm in love with life. I love my life. I love being single parent with 3 kids and no money in the house. I love my life. And as you say these over and over again, things start happening. God starts thinking, Rich is happy with his life. Irina's happy with her life. Okay, let's give them happiness. Whatever we focus on, we're getting in our lives. We're our own worst enemies because God isn't up in the clouds. He's inside us. And we can activate him by saying, I am. So whatever you attach to the I am, that's what you're manifesting in your life. So be very aware the next time you're thinking of saying, I am depressed. And I have is the same as I am. So I am depressed or I have depression. That's telling God you want more of the same. Honestly, if you can understand that, your life will be transformed. So I pray this helps you. Again, my book is How to Live Stress and Anxiety Free 24 hours a day. Irina, thank you for having me on your show. And I hope I didn't talk too long or too much.
Thank you, Richard. You made very good points, and to help single parents to remember that there is community, that you are not a victim. And I write that about in my book, which was called The Gift Inside. How to become free from victimhood. And you are never alone, and find the God in your life. You don't have to go to church, but you have somebody higher power who is always with you. And remember this, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So activating those I am and following along will get you who you want to be. Instead of saying I want, say I am. Thank you so much for joining us, Richard. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and the work you're doing. It's really helping people get better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed every moment of it. And thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you understood me, but thank you.
If this conversation resonated, take a moment and ask yourself, what feeling have I been resisting that is actually asking to be understood? Healing doesn't start by overpowering your emotions. It begins by listening to them. And as Richard reminded us, forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It is about reclaiming your peace. If this episode brought you insight or comfort, share it with another parent who may be carrying more than they show. And if you are ready to reconnect with your own emotional strengths beyond survival mode, I'd love to support you. Until next time, you are not alone. Your feelings are not the enemy, and healing is possible.